Good morning, readers. The poem that is displayed on your screen when Autumn Cam is written by Faiz. So, for poetry is concerned, we have already discussed it in the preceding lecture. Today, we will try to understand the poem When Autumn Came. We will be trying to understand the point of view that Faiz is trying to make through the poem. The poem has almost three stanzas, and this is the first stanza that is displayed on your screen. This is the way that autumn came to the trees. It stripped them down to the skin, left their ebony bodies naked. It shook out their hearts, the yellow leaves scattered them over to the ground. Anyone could trample them out of shape, undisturbed by a single moon of protest. If you see the very first line, you can understand he is demonstrating something. He is demonstrating the atom, which symbolizes tyranny, which symbolizes cruelness, which is a very powerful, something very powerful. This is the way that autumn came to the trees. Now you have to understand which way that autumn came to the trees. It stripped them down to the skin. It removes all the leaves of the trees. When autumn came, what happens to the trees? It removes all its leaves, and the structure of the tree remains what is called left their ebony bodies naked. Ebony is otherwise, if you talk of the word ebony, it is the name of the tree. The color of the tree is black and also brown, and such type of trees are found in Africa. In African region, what happens? You have blacks which are subjugated by the whites. There is some sort of discrimination between the two. Whites consider themselves very superior, and blacks are always suppressed by whites. That type of concept the poet is trying to make through the poem. There are certain people who says yes, when he wrote the poem he is trying to discuss that type of concept. He is giving the human shape to the poem. Okay. Now what happens when autumn came? It removes all the leaves of the trees and left their ebony bodies naked, and the trees look like naked. You can understand the word naked has also a derogatory context, just like you have the word stripped them down in line second. Both the stripped them down, the phrase has a very derogatory context in the poem, and here when you say naked, when anybody is naked, he is considered to be some sort of violence has created upon the person, right? And here what happens, the bodies of the trees are left naked. It shook out their hearts, the yellow leaves. Now it shook out their hearts. Now hearts, you can understand, the heart of the tree is basically the leaves of the trees, and it is basically shaking what? The entire leaves. The leaves from what's called green, they turned into yellow. They become colorless, and they become yellow. Their fertility has gone, their fecundity has gone, their productivity has gone. Now they have become yellow, and when they become yellow, what happens? Scatter them over to the ground. They are scattered, they are spread on the ground, on the below on the ground. And that means they are worthless now. They didn't have any value now. They have only value when they are green and they are simply on the trees. At that time they look very, very very powerful, and we understand that some sort of fertility is being observed by the people who look upon these trees. But here what you find, you are finding yellow leaves are there, and then when they are turned from green to yellow, they are scattered over to the ground. Anyone could trample them out of shape. Anyone, maybe people or animals, whoever passes on the ground, they are crushing these leaves. They are crushing these leaves, and when they are crushing these leaves, they are worthless. They feel they are worthless, and they didn't have any value. They are undisturbed by a single moon of protest. Now these leaves, what they happen? They didn't protest because they are suppressed. When somebody is suppressed, what happens? He fails to protest. And same thing is happening, if you talk of the trees and the leaves, they are victimized during the season of autumn. Autumn is considered to be the season of death. Otherwise, normally what happens when you talk of the season of autumn, it is the season of ripeness. It is the season of ripeness when we will find the fruits and the crops, they get ripe in that particular season. They reach some sort of climax, and after climax, what is going to happen? And there is always a fall, and that's what is happening with the trees. And it is because of autumn. Autumn is considered to be something which is very powerful, which is tyrannous, which is very cruel. And at the same time, the same thing is happening with the birds in the second stanza. Now, readers, you can understand this. The birds that herald dreams were exiled from their songs. Each voice turned out of its throat. They dropped into the dust even before the hunter strung his bow. The birds that herald dreams, they are looking for some dreams. Birds, everybody has dreams. Humans have dreams. Animals have dreams. Maybe birds have also dreams. They are looking for some dreams. But because of autumn, they are exiled, they are expelled, they are banished from their songs. They didn't sing songs. When birds are singing songs, it looks very joyful. It is a sign of ecstasy. Everybody feels very happy. But what happens during the autumn? During the autumn, they are exiled from their songs. They are even forced to leave the entire area. Each voice turned out of his throat, and they didn't sing anything. They don't sing any song, right? What happens to the birds? They are banished from the land because of autumn. Autumn is powerful to that extent. Autumn is considered to be exploiter, and it victimizes what's called birds as well as trees. They dropped into the dust even before hunter strung his bow. Now the hunter tries to, with the bow, hunter tries to shoot a bird, but what happens? The birds are not there. They are already dropped into the dust. They are already dropped into the dust. Either they are killed or they have left the entire area. It is because of autumn. Autumn is powerful to that extent, right? In this particular second stanza, we can understand here again, autumn is something which is very, very cruel. Autumn is something which is tyrannous. Autumn is considered to be exploiter. Autumn suppresses birds as well as trees. And let us try to understand the third stanza. Okay, in the third stanza, you can understand, oh, may God of May have mercy. Bless these withered bodies with the passion of your resurrection. Make their dead veins flow with blood again. Give some tree the gift of green again. Let one bird sing. Here, the poet is praying to Almighty. He says, oh, God of May. God of May, you can understand the God of spring. Spring is the season of rebirth. Spring is the season of fertility. Now, what happens? He is praying to the God of May. Have mercy. At least have mercy. Mercy upon trees. Mercy upon birds. Mercy upon each and everything. Bless these withered bodies. Withered bodies are considered to be the trees, or it can be the birds as well. Bless these withered bodies with the passion of your resurrection. Resurrection is rebirth. That at least what should happen to these withered bodies? They should come into being again. They should come into life again with the passion of your resurrection, right? It is up to the God. It is up to the God of May. What happens after autumn? There's always a positive note that we can understand. Otherwise, if you talk of the beginning of the poem, you will find it some sort of pessimistic view upon the poem. But here you can understand the third stanza. There is some optimistic view. There is some hope. And hope when he says, oh God of May, have mercy. Bless these withered bodies with a passion of resurrection. Bless these withered bodies. Withered bodies, as I said, it can be birds, it can be trees as well. That they should come into being. They should come again into the life. Make their dead veins flow their blood again. So that blood should flow again into them. They should come into the life. They should become active and agile. Give some tree the gift of green again. Let one bird sing. At least there must be some bird who will sing. And it is possible in the season of spring. and spring is, that's why it is considered to be the season of rebirth. Now readers, you can understand, whenever you have some sort of climax and there is fall, and after fall what happens, you have some sort of rebirth. And this poem has a multiple views. Let us try to understand some of the views which I have summed up this poem in this particular uh, passage. You can understand it. Yeah, I'm displaying it on your screen. In this poem, Faiz tries to give a vivid description of autumn season. The poet tells how autumn came and affected the trees and then the birds. This poem may be considered a metaphor of human life. A metaphor of human life. And the autumn may be considered as the lost phase in human life. The poet is metaphorically saying that a tree has a season and a man has a time. Remember, a man has a time. Following the poem, when autumn came, the trees lost their greenery. The trees lost their greenery. They suddenly become leafless, and the birds stop singing and dies. It's like a phase in our life where there is devoid of hope and all the vitalities of life. Yet the poem ends with a positive note. That is obviously the stanza third. The poet prays to God of May for the renewal of life and hope for those desolate beings. Autumn being a natural process, there is little harm effect on both trees and birds, and also on their interdependence. Autumn is followed by spring, there's always hope. The trees will become green again and the birds will sing again. For the poet, the death is in autumn is a sign of rebirth. Again, see this last line. For the poet, the death in autumn is a sign of rebirth. Now let us try to understand the literary, value of the poem. In terms of literary expression, Faiz considers leaves as the source of life and energy of trees. And that's obvious. If you talk of leaves, they are the source of life and energy of trees. For him, leaves are the hearts of the trees. When trees are shaken and stripped off their leaves, they seem lifeless. However, the poet clings to the hope for a new beginning. The poem gives the message for a life and hope amidst all the troubles in life. Readers, I believe you have understood the poem entirely. Let us try to understand some figures of speech, some devices, some techniques that are used in the poem. Now, first of all, personification. Personification, normally, it is, when you are giving human characteristics to something, especially the dead objects, at that time it is considered to be personification. Now, see on your screen, the poet has personified autumn as cruel tyrant and trees as its victims, which give the poem a touch of pathos and appeal. As I have made it clear that actually autumn is what? It is a sign, it is a symbol of tyrant and something very cruel. And that's why it victimizes what? The trees as well as the birds. The personification is apt as autumn, like a tyrant, strips the bodies of trees and deprives the birds of their songs. The trees and the birds are helpless and oppressed, neither protest nor raise their voice. Now, this is happening in stanza first and stanza second. You can easily understand, it victimizes trees as well as birds, right? Now, this is personification. What is personification? Autumn is personified as something very cruel, very tyrant. Now, another poetic device that is being used in the poem is imagery. The images and use of pathetic words for the victims of autumn leaves an everlasting imprint on the reader's mind. Use of images from nature to depict the violence of autumn is the nucleus of the poem's power. The poet has used victimized images of naked and black leafless trees. Naked and black leafless trees, what is called ebony, fallen hapless leaves. When they become yellow and they are fallen on the ground. Fleeing or departed birds, when the birds are exiled, they are turned out of their voices. The hunter about to strung his bow, but the birds are already dropped into the dust. They are no more there. Now, these are certain images that are used in the poem. And there is one more, poetic device, that is symbol. Some symbols are, used by the poet in order to make some sort of contrast, some sort of juxtaposition between the two. The poet has used color to symbolize contrast, season, and attitudes. Now you can understand, he has used the color. Green, normally when you say green leaves, greenery, etc., stands for life, vigor, and spring. If you talk of the word green, yellow signifies death, listless, and autumn. In autumn, you find yellow leaves are there. Yellow signifies death. It is considered to be some sort of paleness, and listlessness you can understand when somebody is very weak. The symbols of oppression, the symbols of oppressor and the oppressed runs through the poem, and we find it in the entire poem. What we understand, especially in the first and second stanza, we find the oppressor is obviously the autumn, and the oppressed are trees as well as birds. Autumn in the poem is a symbol of power, oppression, tyranny, and exploitation. Because this is happening, you understand it in the poem. Trees and birds symbolize the poor, the oppressed, the downtrodden, and the exploited. Okay, dear friends, I'm leaving you here. I believe you have understood the poem. We will try to meet you in another lecture. Till then, goodbye.